I request Nikhil to speak for a moment.
Thanks a lot, Raghav. All the dignitaries on the dais. It's a great honor to be here. So what I'll do is I'll just take about 5 to 6 minutes to give you a brief of what my journey has been. I am a civil engineer by qualification. I did my NIT from Allahabad in the year 1991. My dad was an IS officer, so I thought I had a birthright to be an IS officer. But I was mistaken. My brother was in IIT Kanpur and I thought I'd be an IITian, so I couldn't be there as well. But I landed up in NIT Allahabad. But as I went through and I finished my course, I realized that, and I joined one of the best consulting firms that was called M.N. Dastoor and Company. Dr. Dastoor was a close contemporary of HRD Tata, and he initiated engineering consultancy in India with the Steel Authority of India plants. But as I went for my consulting assignments, I realized that I was a total misfit. Why did I become an engineer? I used to always ask a question to myself, what is my FX in life? F bracket X, being a student of maths. Why did I become a maths student, for example? So one fine day I just picked up the phone and I called my wife that, Ruchi, I think I need to resign because I just don't know why I'm here. So she said, okay, Nikhil, go ahead, do what you want. So thankfully she was in a government job and I could take the plunge. So I went back home and my dad was sitting here with his very close Langotia Yar, Captain Vishwakant Pandey, who runs a very, very innovative school in Delhi called the Manav Bharati India International School. So Captain Pandey said, Nikhil, why don't you come to the school, for a change? By the time you get the next job, maybe you'll enjoy with the children. So this was in 1995-96. And then for the next 15 years, I just became a school teacher. I taught children maths and physics. I requested the principal to give me the junior most children because I felt that I had to first understand my own dilemma as to why I did become an engineer. And as I taught the children and I grappled with the education system, I soon realized that our education system as a corollary of Macaulay's minutes was a huge experiment or progression in derailing the entire HR of the country, I felt. People were getting into careers for which they were not meant to go. And my entire fight with the system began in the middle of the 1990s, and I started interacting with NCERT, I started interacting with the CBSE also. And I told all my teachers, all my principals as I went around the country that finishing the syllabus has to be the starting point. Finishing the syllabus cannot be the end. And through the subjects that I taught, I used to teach maths and physics, I connected the curriculum to the social problem from where the child was coming. And that's where I read a lot about John Dewey, Maria Montessori. I also read extensively J. Krishnamurti, Aurobindo, Vivekanand as to what they thought education should be. And I soon realized that our own great saints had been totally ignored by our education system. The experiments continued in school, and within my own school I did a time and motion study to see that during a given year, about a month was totally wasted by children because teachers were absent and there were arrangement teachers, etc. periods happening. During this time, I did project-based learning by connecting the contents, by connecting the curriculum to the real world outside. From where जिस परिपेक्ष से बच्चा आ रहा था, उससे उसकी पढ़ाई को जोड़ने का एक प्रयास शुरू किया. I soon realized that this was the most amazing way of strengthening core concepts in maths and science. अगर energy की crisis थी, we had a huge concern in Delhi when privatization happened. There was the Tatas who came in the north and the Reliance came in the south. And there was huge theft with Delhi Vidyut Board going literally bankrupt. And then the Tatas came forward and through my own NGO, they gave me a small little project to work with schools. I began mapping the course and the content from class 5 to class 10th to the energy consumption that every consumer was doing. And we came up with a very unique concept called the Energy Club. By taking up this club in the community and in the school, we soon realized over a period of time that theft began to go down in the NDPL areas, in the Tata areas. So that made a lot of business sense to the company which was distributing power. Parallelly, within the class, I felt that the marks of these children began to go up, especially the children who were very, very laggards as well, who were supposed to be very bad in maths and science. I kept on documenting all of this. And in fact, this led to formation of something called the Samir Clubs, which is social action movement for education and eco-restoration. And in the communities, I connected with the parents in the neighborhood. And I said, you please start giving time to the kids beyond your family. Why did Christ say, love thy neighbor? You need to go beyond your family. If you want to have an extended family, आप अपने talent को पड़ोसी के बच्चे के संग भी थोड़ा share करिए. After mapping the school work and the community work, I went to the CBSE and I very vociferously talked about what later on came out to be called the continuous and comprehensive evaluation of children, where scholastic and co-scholastic has to submit to understand what a child can really give in terms of going forward. So in the morning, in fact in the afternoon when I was hearing a lot of people talk about jobs, talking about the huge crisis in the employability sector. In fact, the NSDC is looking at 500 million jobs in the next 10 years. It all has to go back to the schools. It all has to go back to mapping the hidden talent in every child. And I think that is what the movie The Three Idiots also talks about later. If we are able to do that, we can do the most amazing thing with the human resource that the country has. So this has gone on, and then subsequently I joined the Tech Mahindra Foundation, where we began giving grant to a lot of NGOs. And currently I am working with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, where, as you all may be aware, there is a new Companies Act 2013, where there is a section 135 which has made corporate social responsibility mandatory. Spending is not mandatory, but reporting is mandatory. So what has now happened is that suddenly about 20,000 crores of rupees are now coming into the development sector from 16,000 companies which now qualify to do CSR. So the current task, where I'm engaged with Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee and team who heads the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, is to see how the private sector, with its capacity to do good business and to generate good profit, can synergize and improve the return on investment on taxpayers' money, because we know that when the taxpayers' money goes from the government to the bottommost people, only 5 or 10% reaches there. So this entire process, and in fact I was extremely honored when Raghav told me that this award was being conferred, and I've always believed in being very silent. My dad has taught me that, जिसको हम लोग गुप्त दान भी कहते हैं, the power of change is maximum when you don't talk about it. The next few years are going to be extremely important for India, I feel. And when I come here to Singapore, I have extensively read Go Chok Tong as well as Lee Kuan Yew's work while I was growing up. India has so much to learn, but what is most important is this, that a lot of the solutions are there within India itself. And it is extremely important that some of us who are in our 40s, maybe in our late 30s, who realize that there is a huge repository of talent and resource available. We must not let it go. The government now, in fact, thankfully with the next 5 years, a very stable government coming on board. We have people like Raghav working extensively through their platforms. It is extremely important that the hidden talent of children, that's where I go back to my core work, the hidden talent of every child should be mapped to a future vocation to get maximum return on investment for a nation to go forward. So thank you once again, Raghav, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.